I thought it would be interesting for people to hear a little bit about my background and what got me into real estate and now coaching, doing real estate, opening the state up for a national real estate company, and just growing differently than originally my trajectory was. So let's go back to college. I actually met my husband in 1996, and I really just wanted to be like a wife and a stay-at-home mom. And it's actually really funny when you think about it because I am anything but at that time in my life, I thought that's what I wanted. I went to an all-women's college, and it was a situation where kind of all the girls just did that. Not everybody, but it was just that thing. I went to Meredith College, it was in the South. This was the 90s. Everybody was like trying to get the coveted engagement ring. We did not get engaged and married till much later, till 2000. And now Michael and I have been together, we'll be celebrating a wedding anniversary of 24 years and been together 28 years. It's a long time. We've had a whole lifetime together. And I was such a young girl when I met him. It's kind of funny now to look back and thinking how grown up I thought I was. So that's the past. So I go and get this corporate job. I've done different sales job. I get a corporate job working in pharmaceuticals. I worked for a company in skincare, I worked in dermatology, and then I got headhunted out to work in a bigger biotech company. And I spent quite some time, over a decade with this one company, and ended up getting moved and getting promotions and getting, whole moving packages. I moved from North Carolina back to Richmond, which is where I was raised by my family. So that's how we ended up in Richmond. I was raised in Richmond, born in Korea, so I am an immigrant. So I have immigrant blood. I'm first generation. I got my citizenship when I was a little girl here in Richmond. My dad took me, we got McDonald's breakfast, and I went and swore before the judge. And I have a very clear, vivid memory of that. And I didn't realize how significant it was, but I understand that today. So my parents were very hardworking immigrants. They had nothing, like nothing. They got their tickets to come to the United States on loan just to fly here. They lived in someone's trailer on someone else's property. Like my dad worked at Philip Morris on the floor. Like he did a little bit of everything. They've had businesses, they had successes, failures, but ultimately they gave me a great education and they gave me a great home. I had a good life. Was it perfect? No. Was there issues? Of course, because it's immigrant and there are things, and that's not for this video. This video is more about business. So that's my background. I come from a business owner's background, but my parents really wanted me to get a job and, have something like in their mind. They felt the American goal was to either be a doctor, lawyer, business person, work for a big company. And they loved the fact that I was working for a company that offered like these incredible benefits, meaning I had full health, like 401k match, like all the bells and whistles. I had a company car, company credit card, 8 weeks vacation paid. I won trips, I won Rolexes. Like it was the big thing. And it was a great job. I loved it. I learned so much. We had a lot of autonomy in our areas, and I grew a lot as a human. And I know all of those things that I did in that past life for myself prepared me for running this business that I have now today. So I'm really grateful for it. So when they say you're exactly where you're supposed to be and you go through the things will prepare you for where you're going to go, I truly believe that, because every single milestone I've had, every struggle, every letdown, every failure in my mind, difficulty has prepared me for every single step. It just blows my mind. So to have trust and faith if you are going through tribulations, trials, and struggles in your business journey. And so fast forward, I get really tired in this business. I'm making good money, but it's not like it's enough money to live, meaning to support my family, to have a nice home, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, regular house, nice neighborhood, but nothing like crazy. We weren't going on crazy vacations. We were not saving tons of money. We were really living paycheck to paycheck. And if we had one disaster, like our son was diagnosed autistic and on the spectrum, and we had all his bills to pay, like anytime something like that happened, it would destroy us. And, things would happen, like something would happen to the car and we'd have to get new tires, or, those were things that we were really affected with. And so when I see people struggle with that, I totally can relate. There really wasn't any extra income coming in besides my regular check. And then we would have quarterly bonuses, but the bonuses were capped. And it was such an interesting thing to me because I had like a $50 million portfolio of medications and I had incredible relationships. No matter what, they kept moving me, but I would somehow foster those relationships and influence without influence, meaning they really didn't need me to come in there, but I found my way in and I found ways to talk to people and share, the medications I was serving, how to get it approved with insurances. I found my way in always. very difficult, very draining. Going through the hospital, seeing people that are sick, and ended up working in oncology was very difficult. So I didn't realize the toll it was taking on my personal well-being and my happiness and just my energy levels being in that environment. So that's something really to remember for those of you that are struggling and you're trying to figure out, should I stay? Should I go? What do I do? Be very aware of what drains you and what feeds you. And I think that's so important because life is very short. I can't believe I'm going to be 50 soon. And I feel like I was just 25 and I blinked and had babies. And now my oldest has graduated and I have, my youngest is now first grader. So it's just, I have a middle child that's turning 16. I don't even know how this has happened. And we laugh about it. And this whole storytelling is to give the background because I don't think people understand. They just see what they see on the video or they see in the post and they don't realize the journey that takes place. This is my 10th year in the business of real estate. And I find it very monumental for me because when I took that leap, I was just 38 years old and I didn't know what I was going to do. And I just felt at that time in my life, I was too old, I thought. I had kids and I felt I was being really irresponsible just jumping into a business that was 100% commission and no insurance, no backup, no car, no nothing. And I think a lot of people were concerned. They even did some interventions like, I don't think this is a good idea. And are you sure about this? You're giving up an incredible career to go out on your own when the failure rate is like some crazy, like 90%. I don't know, it's some crazy failure rate that I was like, I can't fail. Like for me, when I did this and I raised my hand, I was like, I can't fail. So I think that's probably why I didn't fail. There wasn't an option for me. So those of you that give yourself an option, maybe that's not a good idea. That would be number one. But I raised my hand during a time when there was a package available. It was hidden within the HR, human resources page. And a good friend of mine that was an agent, not an agent, I'm getting my words mixed up, but he was a district manager and said, hey, because I was disappointed when they were letting people go. I kind of was like hoping for it so I could do something different. I was really tired of what I was doing. And I was really probably depressed. I wasn't happy. I was kind of crying a lot. It wasn't good. And I know that it took a lot for my husband, Michael, to be strong and not pick at me. He just supported me. So I was really fortunate to have a good partner. And that's another thing. And I'm going to talk about choosing your partner in life in another video. But he definitely cheered me on when I made the decision to ask for that package. And the package was tiny. Like if I knew now what I knew then, I would never have taken that package and been like, sure, no problem. I'm just going to go for it. It was barely enough for it to make us survive for not even 6 months with 2 kids, a mortgage, car payments, health insurance, groceries, medical bills, all that stuff. And I can't believe I had the audacity, but I did. And so you have to be audacious. And I'm so grateful that I was. And so that was the biggest step for me in taking that leap. I'll never forget it. My husband and I recently just did a walk because it's about that time when I had made that decision. We took a walk with our dogs and he asked me, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know. I had just asked for the package and I didn't know if it was going to be approved or not. And we went for a walk and I just like throw up feeling. And he was like, well, you've always liked houses. Why don't you just sell some real estate? Just like that. And I said, okay. And that sounds great. And so I came home, called a girlfriend of mine from high school and I said, what do you think about this? She was actually a supporter because she's pretty awesome. I actually have some amazing, amazing friends. And I just did a video about who you put yourself around is so important. Such a good dear friend, childhood friend. And she put me in touch with her agent that actually had left a huge financial career to do this. So something similar, but just a different career. So I had a lovely conversation with a man named Michael Manuel. And I think he's still in the business, but lovely man, gave me some great advice. And I just was like, okay. And I signed up for the class that night. And the rest is history, meaning I signed up. I joined a local office here. It was the #1 office in Richmond. I had no idea at that time. The only reason I ended up joining it because it was the closest proximity to my house. And literally now my brokerage now is like across the street from it. So I already know myself. My husband knows me. He's like, you're not going to go anywhere near that office if it's downtown. Even though the downtown office looked very appealing to me and it just seemed fun and trendy, I knew myself. So I made better decisions knowing my behavior. So that's a really important thing, is to know yourself and know your true self and what you will and will not do, because you don't want to sabotage yourself if it's difficult. It already is hard. So don't make it harder on yourself. So I did this journey. I really struggled and my husband saw me struggling. I got my license in 2014, at the very end of 2014. My mom, everyone's moms usually come through. Well, my mom's amazing. She recommended a good friend of hers to work with me, and she was my first client and really didn't know what I was doing. And this woman gave me so much grace, and I ended up selling selling her home and helping her buy her home. And she was my first deal. And it was really cool. But my husband actually was digging a line behind my back in a very good way. He knew not to discourage me. And he knew that if he said anything but encouraging words, that I would probably freak out. So he's super cool-headed, and anybody that knows him, he's very diplomatic and just an amazing supporter and cheerleader. And he went and found Mr. Tom Ferry online. So they did all these ads at that time, if you can imagine, back in 2014, to recruit for a day seminar that was going to be free. And from this day seminar of giving free content, they're trying to sign people up for some sales training. So he signed me up, and I invited a friend of mine that later ended up bailing on me the morning of the day conference. And he said, well, you can just go. And I just did not want to go by myself. I had literally just gotten my license, and I was feeling really nervous. Like, we were going through the money. There was no money coming in. I was spending money. I didn't have a company car anymore. It was a really scary time. There was no one really talking to me in that office, unfortunately, at that time. It just was one of those offices that had all performers, and they were just doing their thing. They were not interested in talking to some new girl that they didn't know was going to be there or not, because the failure rate's so high in real estate. So I went ahead and we went to the seminar, had an amazing morning of learning with Mr. Bill Pipes, who at the time was working at Tom Ferry. And at the time it came to buy the tickets for Sales Edge, it was like $300, and we really didn't have $300. And my husband was like, you have to go. And I was like, we don't have the money. He went back and signed me up. Yep, he signed me up, and he said, you can stay with your friend Tamara, the one I called. And I stayed on her couch, and her cat jumped on me, and that's another story. But anyways, and the rest is history. I signed up for coaching at Sales Edge. I was a client of theirs, and I'm still a client of theirs, and now I'm one of their coaches. So the full circle moment is I went to the summit where there's thousands and thousands of agents in San Diego in 2015. And I was a little core client, basic client there, and didn't know what I was doing. And I just saw these people on stage, and I saw these people growing their businesses, and I just thought, wow, I don't know if that'll ever be me. But I had big goals, and I wrote everything down, and I worked diligently and put my head down. And I'm going to flash forward to 10 years. And this last month I was on stage, and I'm a coach, a teams coach and a speaker for Tom. All of that happened in 10 years. So exactly what they said, don't overestimate what you can do in a week, a day, a month, and don't underestimate what you can do in a decade. And I remind myself that every day, because I think all of us feel like we're competing and that we're not going fast enough and we're not getting to where we want to go. But understand, every step that you take, as long as you're taking steps and you're making decisions and you're not sitting on things, it will propel you to where you're supposed to go. Like, I really think back to that. So if Michael had not gone digging for some answers, knowing that I wasn't getting the training I was needing in my office, because they just weren't equipped to train me in that manner, he sought it out. And thank God for it, because I definitely would not be here today without the coaching. And accountability, it's not just accountability. I'm pretty accountable to myself. It's just like the voices in your head. I just did a video on imposter syndrome. It's the things that getting in your head. You have to be around other people. You have to be around people that push you. You have to be around people that have different conversations and different thoughts and different dialogues and different ideas. And I think to be around these types of people in rooms that I'm like, wow, I can't believe that man has sold $1 billion of real estate. I want to know what that's like. And to understand that mentality of, hey, selling $1 million property is not a big deal. And at the time it was, but it isn't. So you are your own limit. And this video is really just to tell you my story of how I got into real estate. And since then, in 10 years, I was on stage. I have grown a team. I started out with an assistant. I didn't know what I was doing. I fired the assistant, got a TC, built that up, got another assistant. I've probably been through, I don't know how many assistants. I probably was the worst boss ever. And I apologize to people that saw me, that worked for me, that I sucked. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to lead because I didn't know how to lead myself. I am still learning how to lead. And it is something that is probably one of the most challenging things I've ever done, except for being a parent. Being a parent, as anybody that's a parent understands how challenging that is. And also being married. So, and I love my husband dearly and I love my children dearly, but all those things, leading and being an example and showing up for other people and thinking big picture and not getting caught in tunnels, these are things I've learned in the process of growing my business, of the process of failing. I mean, I've been swindled by horrible CPAs, had to pay hundreds of thousands of taxes that I didn't know that I had to pay, and he ran away and gosh, missed out on amazing opportunities because I wasn't willing to make a phone call. I've been there. There's so many things I didn't do because I talked myself out of. And so now I'm committed to doing the things that I'm scared of. And I push myself of doing things, even sharing this much of myself is scary. Like, I never planned to have this third baby. Rain is now gonna be 7 this month. And I had her second year in the business. I was terrified. I didn't know how I was gonna navigate a maternity leave while I was running my own business. Like, that in itself is crazy. And how do you manage 3 kids? How do you manage showing up as a spouse, as a mom, as an employer, as a client of coaching, as a coach, as a listing agent, as a buyer's agent? Like, there's so many roles that I wore that I learned through the fire. And so that's why I challenge you, if you're struggling on, I don't know how to do it, I'm scared, I don't want to let go of my money, the reward is on the other side of the risk. And I'm getting ready to jump into another hoop of risk by opening the state up for FIDE Realty in Virginia. And it's terrifying. And I'm in the process right now of transferring and all these things. And I'm not sure when this video will be released, but it's exciting. It's ground level. It's super exciting for me, but it's different. My journey has changed and evolved, and it's okay. This is really, really important, everyone. It's okay to change your journey. It's okay to change your mind. Now, if you go back and forth because you are being lazy or you're sabotaging yourself, meaning you have imposter syndrome, or you're second guessing yourself, that is not okay. But it's okay to say, you know what, I tried that, I don't like that. Those are things that I realized going through the process and growing. And I think one of the things I love to do is I love to mentor, I love to coach, I love to teach, I love to serve, I love to help my buyers and sellers in their journey to buy new homes and sell their homes in transition. I love my people. I work by referral. I love it. I absolutely loved seeing the joy, but I know that I have so many other gifts to offer. So this piece for me to share this is so exciting. So I've done it. I've gone through it. Is everything perfect? No. Am I done with my journey? No. I have so much more to go and grow. And, I've bought an investment property. That took me a really long time because I was scared. And when we finally ripped the Band-Aid off and said, let's do it, it wasn't scary anymore. So some of the things, you kind of just have to do it and figure it out as you go along. And once you do, it's not so scary. And so I realized that in everything in business, you figure it out and you learn as you go. And is it perfect? No. You can perfect it as you go along, but it is not something to not do something and not to put brakes on things that you want to try because you think it needs to be perfect up front. That is something that I think I learned the most in this whole journey. And it's been an amazing ride so far. I cannot wait to see what comes. I hope there's more speaking opportunities. I had a text with Tom about that, and I'm one of his speakers, and I'm really excited because I love it. I love to just offer up myself to help others. I don't know, it's just fun and exciting. I love content creation. This is such a fulfilling thing for me. It's late at night and I find so much joy in doing it. I'm just lit up inside in telling my story and hoping that it will help someone, and finding inspiration and knowing whether you're a single mom, whether you're, starting over again, whether you're late in life and you feel like I'm too old to do this, whether you're young. I mean, one of my interns that cold called me is uber successful now online, and I'm so proud of her, Eileen Yang. I'm so proud of you. And I just feel so joyful for the path that I've gone and the people that have come across my path. I pushed myself out of the comfort zone to join the Tony Robbins organization as a client, and that's been huge growth for me. And in this process, I've learned who I am a little bit more every day. I've connected with myself spiritually and grown so much in that space that I didn't ever think that would happen. And I honestly don't think any of these things would have happened had I stayed in the corporate job. I just know it would not have happened. And I hate to say it, a good friend of mine that I worked side by side in the business with passed away in his sleep at 50 years old. And I was like, oh my God, it was so tragic and sad. And I thought to myself, I'm so glad that I took the risk to do a business, to try to grow wealth for my family, and to do something different and to push myself and to stretch myself and to meet interesting people all over the country and world that I never would have met had I just stayed in the same place. I learned what I needed to learn in that place, and I graduated. So it's time for you, if you want to make that step into real estate, into going in business for yourself, into taking that risk, going back to school, now is the time. I'm telling you. I don't care how old you are. So if this story resonated with you or you're curious about more, subscribe and like, please, and comment. I want to know your journey, your story. What are you struggling to grow into and what do you want to do? And I will create some more content around that. Thanks for watching.